Welcome to Accounting Europe YouTube channel.
That helps improve the accounting profession, right? So we believe that, there's a huge gap between what happens in theory and what happens in practice, and also in terms of knowledge of accountants, right? So we have various initiatives by which we help improving the knowledge of accountants. One of such is, if you follow any of our channels on social media platforms, on LinkedIn, on Telegram, on Twitter, on Facebook, on IG, we're trying to share content related to accounting, right? So that help people improve their knowledge in accounting, right? And once in a while, like once or twice every month, we try to hold webinars to help improve knowledge of accountants. So I'm going to just show you, for those who are joining us for the first time, I want to show you the YouTube channel, right? Which I encourage you to join or subscribe to. For those who have already joined, I'm sure they can testify to the benefit they get from the YouTube channel, right? Last month, we hit over 1,000 subscribers, and we have over 30 videos, right? So the last webinar we held was on analyzing bank statements, which is also listed here. We had a webinar on interviewing for accounting roles, where we did a mock interview. We had a session on preparing management accounts from trial balance all the way to cash flow and estimate of financial plan and income statement. We had a webinar on the oil and gas sector, and so many others like that. So this particular one is for Excel. For those who know me very well, right, I am someone who is quite interested in Excel, and I find Excel as a very important tool for accountants. I feel it's a tool that we use on a day-to-day basis, and I am of the opinion that if you are using something close to 50% of your time, then you should be able to improve your knowledge on it because it will help you a lot. Now, this webinar would require me to display or use Excel functions and features. You most likely observe, right? You can ask questions because we're not doing any other thing other than Excel. So the focus is strictly on Excel, right? We're not focused on accounting. We're just looking at functions and features that accountants use on a day-to-day basis. So the first place I'll start from is that when people ask me about Excel, I list a set of functions, right, which I've listed here, and I put them into categories. String is what we call text, right? These are functions that people apply when handling text. This is dates. These are functions people apply when handling dates. These are functions that help with handling numbers, and these are functions which lead to finance in terms of loan. These are features in Excel. These are other functions that people make use of in Excel. Personally, I have a channel which I personally follow in terms of knowledge in Excel, which is Leila. Excel is Fun, Chandu, and Mr. Excel. These are their YouTube channels, right? So on a day-to-day basis, not once in a while, I go there to learn one or two functions or features in Excel, which I also highly recommend for people who are interested in learning Excel, right? So what I'm going to do now is a combination of all the knowledge I've acquired over time and try to be very focused on how it affects us as accountants, right? And I'm going to walk you through almost close to about 20 sheets here, right? So today we focus on just basically the functions and features. Tomorrow we'll now go into applying the knowledge, right, into certain areas where people as accountants, we could make use of these functions and features in Excel. Then the third day will be focused strictly on financial modeling. That one will not be something where we are developing models. It will mean walking you through an understanding of what model entails, right? So that people can understand what exactly is financial modeling. What are the things where do you apply financial modeling? What are the things you need to understand about financial modeling? Financial modeling plays a very key role, right? The budget people prepare could actually be done through financial modeling. So we'll walk through all that on the last day, right? But as for now, we build our knowledge in Excel and also the knowledge required for us to build financial model. We kind of put it in a holistic form here, right? So while I've explained myself, we're here to share, learn, and help. If you have knowledge to share while we're doing this, you can share. And there's always a room for questions to be asked. Make use of the chat room. As long as possible, don't unmute yourself, right? So that we don't make it very scattered, right? So at the moment, I don't know if you have any questions at the moment. You can just send a message chat box before we commence. Yes, the video will be available on YouTube channel. That's standard to be available on the YouTube channel. Sulaiman. So the training will cut across 3 days. Today, tomorrow, and next week, Saturday. Same time, 12, 4 hours. The document will be available also. For all those who registered, I'll send them via email to everyone, via email. If you did not register, you can just chat me up. Let me just send my number such that you can always just chat me up so I can put your email in case you got this through a friend. That's my number, so you can just send me your email address. Okay, someone wants the link to the YouTube channel, so let me share the link to the YouTube channel. Yeah, that's the link to the YouTube channel. Okay, in the absence of no more questions, I would commence the session, right? All right, so let's commence now. Okay. So now, the first place I would like to go to, I usually tell people that if you want to know how sound tone is in Excel, see how the person works with shortcuts, right? Typically, you will be given it a long chunk of data. By the time you see how the person is navigating around the worksheet, you can tell how good or efficient the person in Excel. Excel has a lot of shortcuts, right? But typically, I'm sure everybody knows Control N, which is new, Control S, save, right? But outside that, you find that a lot of people Control C, copy, Control V, paste. However, Excel has a lot of functions. So one function I start with is press Control spacebar. Control and spacebar simply highlights the entire column, right? Similarly, as you have Control and spacebar, you also have Shift and spacebar. That will highlight everything along a particular row. The same place, I can also select a particular cell and press Control Shift and spacebar and select the entire data, right, that is contiguous. Someone else would have pressed Control A instead of Control Shift spacebar and will arrive at the same result, right? So the same way we've gone about highlighting, we can also introduce columns and new rows. So typically what I do is press Control spacebar to highlight the column. Now the next step is to introduce a new column, right? And how do I achieve that? I press Control Shift and my plus sign, right? And I introduce a new column. Same way, I press Shift and spacebar. I can also press Control Shift and plus sign to introduce a new row, right? If I did not select a row or column and I press Control Shift plus, a dialog box will appear, giving me the option of whether it wants me to shift the cells to the right, shift row, the entire row, entire column. So I can select it based on what I want to achieve, right? Similar way, in terms of including a new row or column, I can delete, right? Simple way to delete is press Control minus sign, right? Or I can press Alt-E-D, right? And that also brings the dialog box to delete an entire row or column. So I'll repeat myself. If I want to delete, I can press Control and my minus sign, right? And it gives me the option to delete a row or column or a cell. And I can select entire row and I press Enter. You will notice that that particular row is gone, right? I can also do the same in terms of deleting again. Instead of pressing Control negative, I press them one by one. So I press Alt-E-D, right? And the dialog box appears. With this, I can now select, if I want to delete the entire column, I can use my arrow key to navigate and press Enter, and I delete the entire column, right? Control Z to undo, and I return my data to where it is. Right, I can come here and press Control negative, and I've deleted it. Now, at times when you're working with data, some people will use the mouse to scroll down to the bottom, right? To get to the bottom of a particular cell. However, you don't need that all the time. You can just press Control and the down arrow key, and I get to the bottom of the pyramid, right? And that way I'm already at the bottom. And I want to get to the top, I press Control up, and I get to the top, right? To also navigate, I want to navigate across sheets. All I need to do is press Control and page down, Control, page down, Control, page down, and I can move across various sheets. And I can press Control, page up, Control and page up, the page up key, and I move across the various sheets, right? And I've navigated easily without a problem. Sometimes when you have multiple sheets, you can generally just come here and right click, right? At the bottom here where you have these two arrows, you just come here, right click, and it gives you all the sheets that are available, and you can select the sheets you're interested in going to, right? Instead of going all the way to look for it. That way you can find the sheets you're interested in and just navigate, right? Now, That's that one. So another one is that.
Friday number, that guy number, that Friday. Now give me one, two.
Okay, sorry about that. So let's continue. Okay, so the next step now is, now that we've shown how to navigate, right? I was trying to make a reference to the fact that you can move to the first cell, which is cell A1, right? And just pressing Control Home, right? Yeah, it takes to the top. Control Home. Control End will do something similar. It takes to the end, right? And now we can navigate across the sheet. Now, typically, Excel has been configured so that you can handle shortcuts, right? Now, I've showed you shortcuts that come to mind, but however, Excel has many functions, many shortcuts, right? So for example, I want to quickly do my filter. I can press Ctrl-Shift-L, right? And you see the filter option, right? I can press Ctrl-Shift-L again and it disappears and the filter option has come there. Now, typically, you cannot know all the shortcuts, but Excel has structured a platform so that new shortcuts can be created. Not like they can be created, they exist, but if you want to learn them, typically, as you work with Excel, you find out that there are certain features you use often, right? You need to know what those shortcuts are for them so that you don't need to navigate to do them, right? So for example, imagine if I want to hide this place, for example, I can easily highlight like this and press Ctrl 0, and I've hidden that cell. Ctrl Z, like I said, highlight and press Ctrl 0, and I've hidden that cell. Undo. Similar, I can come here, highlight, and press Ctrl 9 to highlight along that side, right? Ctrl Z. Now, I can also highlight like this and group cells, and I'll press Alt D, G, G. Can you see? This is group cells or group rows, right? And I can undo by pressing Alt A, U, U, and I've undone the grouping, right? Let me repeat myself. I highlight the cells I want to group, and I press Alt D, G, G, and it has grouped it, right? Undo, and I can press Alt D, G, G to group, and to undo it, I can press Alt A, U, U to ungroup, right? That's another shortcut. And that shortcut I typically use is, for example, I want to sort, Alt A, S, S, right? It gives me the option to bring out the sort option, right? It stops here because there's a free column here. If I delete it, right, using Ctrl minus, and I press Alt A, S, S, it does the filter across. I just need to untick my header and select everything, right? So I want to just tell you about the generic way to now determine other shortcuts, because you may not know all, depending on how you work with Excel. Some people have functions or features that they use often, and it's based on the shortcut key that they can get to it. So typically what happens is that you press the Alt key, you will notice that alphabets appear at the top corner of your Excel workbook, right? You see them? Top corner, it appears there. Now, depending on where you want to navigate to, if you know the ribbon where you are navigating to is, you just press the alphabet you are seeing. So for example, we want to get to data, we press A. It shows you further again, right? You want to get to sort, which is here, right? You can just press SA. If you want to get to data validation, for example, you can press V, right? If you want to get to what if, you can press W. Let's assume you go to W, right? This. Now, the next one, as you want to get to goal seek, you press G, right? And you'll draw your goal seek function, future in Excel. Meaning that I could actually press Alt A, W, and G, and I'll get to that shortcut, right? So, meaning that at any point in time, if you want to navigate a particular feature, you can simply just hit the Alt key and watch where it's located and go all the way there. So, for example, I want to get to insert, I press N. I want to get to picture, I press P. Yeah, this is picture here, I press P. And it comes up, and I want to get to, for example, device pictures, and I press D, and I've gotten there, right? And it's listed here, and that is the shortcut. So meaning that based on what you do with Excel, you can easily identify certain functions and features you would want to work with and use the Alt key to navigate across. When you know it, but over time, when you practice, you would not need to be cramming shortcuts. You'd have gotten part and parcel of you, right? So that's how to use shortcuts to work around your Excel workbook, right? So there are so many other shortcuts. Typical shortcuts for me are, for example, use the F2 key. The F2 key is used when you want to edit a particular cell, right? So for example, if I press F2, if you notice I am here, I can delete. So let's start again. I am here, I'm in F7, I press F2. F2 gives me the option to edit a particular cell. I change the value there to 20, for example, and I press enter, and I'm done, right? So I am done actually editing a particular cell. So you need the F2 key to edit a cell, right? Yeah, are we together? Now, let's assume I've gone to this section of still shortcuts and navigation, for example. I come here, and let's assume that we want to multiply score by age. Let's see, let's call it product. I can easily do 4 times 44, for example, right? Is here. Yeah, which is, if you notice, what did I do? Here, bottom right, instead of copying and pasting, I just double click at the edge here. Yeah, simple process. So similar, let's say, for example, I do this divided by score, for example. I've gone to the bottom here. I can easily get to the bottom, for example, put the letter D, for example, press Ctrl up to get back to the top, right? As I'm here now, I can press Ctrl Shift and my down arrow key to get to the bottom, right? I want the formula to come all the way down. What do I need to do? I press Ctrl D, right? Similar process, similar to how I did double click at the edge here. I can also just press Ctrl D, and it copies that formula all the way down. So I don't need to copy, yeah, and now select the cell and paste. No, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick and just double click at the edge. Provided there's no space between these two data, that would work. But if, for example, there's space between these two data, if I come here, Excel will not respond. So there must be no space between these two. However, my Ctrl G can work, right? I come here, just where I want it to stop, for argument's sake. Yeah, I'm here, holding Shift and Control and my down arrow key. I get to the bottom and I press Ctrl D, and I fill the cell all the way to the bottom. Now, that's a simple way of doing copy and paste. Typically, the same way we have all the way down, I will show you how to do to the right. As you press Ctrl D to go down, you want to copy to the right, all you need to do is press Ctrl and your right arrow key. But first step is that you need to highlight the cells in the first place, right? Okay, so now that we've done that, right, I know everybody knows the shortcut, but I'll do it anyways. Alt equals to. Alt equals to will give you a sum total, right, of cells. You didn't start typing sum and selecting the range, right? Like I said, you can use Ctrl R. So I select the cells I want to do sum total for, and I press Ctrl R, and it copies it all the way to the right. So that way, if I check, these are my totals, right? Now, quick navigation skill. If you notice, anytime you select a range like this, Excel gives you average, count, and sum, right? Now, you can add more features to this if you don't want only average, count, and sum. You can right-click, see the options Excel has given to you. You can put minimum, you can put maximum, you can put others. So that at any point in time, if you select a range of cells, you can see maximum, minimum, and all are all listed here. But the default is average, sum, and count. But you can add more, right? And that makes your life easy. Yep. Okay. So now we're done with shortcuts and navigation, right? I don't know if anybody has any question. You can simply send a message to the chat box. Okay. In the absence of no question, I will proceed. Now, space special. Now, typically, we do a lot of things that require us to paste, right? And what I tell people most times that Excel has a dialog box for space special. Typically, that dialog box is located here, right? When you have copied it. But before you paste, you must have copied, right? So let's say, for example, I want to transpose this data. I'll press Ctrl C. I want to show by my January to March is listed here, and my Northwest is listed at the top, right? All I need to do is press Alt ES, right? And my dialog box appears, right? Alt ES. Now, because I want to transpose it, there are so many options here. What I want is transpose, so I click on transpose and I press OK. Yeah? What can you notice? January and February is here, January and February is here. Can you see? That's transposed the data. Rather than now copying one by one and trying to transpose data, right? Saves a lot of time and energy. Typically at times, let's say for example now, I want to add 500 to all the numbers here, right? Instead of saying copy here equal to plus 500, I can easily just do 500, copy it, highlight all the numbers I want to add together, and I press Alt ES, it appears, then I can select add, which is D, right? And I press OK, right? And I've added 500 to all the numbers. Quick check, right? Equal to this number minus this. Yeah, can see difference is 500, right? Similar way you've added, you can also do apply multiplication. So 2, for example, highlight all the cells here, Alt ES, multiply. See multiply, which is M, press M and press OK, right? You will notice that it has multiplied by 2. The same way you can do multiply and add, you can also do subtract and do addition, right? And makes your life easy, right? No problems, no thinking required. Now, I would, okay, so that's that one. Yes. Yeah, so there are other things you could actually do. You can have value, format, and all. So for example, imagine if I wanted to just only copy the formatting here, right? And I want to bring the formatting here, or ES, and I select formatting alone, and I press OK. It transfers the formatting to this cell, right? So someone else would have done, selected here, gone to the paintbrush, and repeat it here, right? That same result to achieve, but I've done using Paste Special. Another thing you should take note of is that at times you want to use the paintbrush, but typically if you click on the paintbrush, right, and you come here and you highlight what you want to do, it does it once and it stops. But at times you want it to do more than once, right? So all you need to do is that for that particular thing you want to do, you highlight it, holding your control key, double click on your paintbrush and come to wherever you want it, right? It's there always. It's there always. Repeat it as many times as you want. And when you're done, press the escape key and you're done, right? So you need to apply the paintbrush as many times as you want it to, right? Yeah, custom format. Now, typically, what's custom format? Custom format helps you change how you see a cell, right? So typically, most times, what you see is not what really it is. And this is applicable most especially in things like financial modeling, right? So you see a particular text or a particular number, but you want it presented, but you still want it to have its original number. The only way you can know what the original number is if you're looking at the reference cell, right? So how do you get to it? So let's say, for example, this number, I want it to appear as 1000N. I click on the number, right click, right? Go to format cell, right? Format cell. The shortcut for this is Control and 1, right? It comes up. Same thing, same result. I can either right click and go to format cell, or I just press Control 1. Same thing, right? I go to custom format, right? Now, typically Excel has, in custom format, has 4 sections. It has positive, negative, 0, and text. And they are separated by the exclamation mark, not exclamation mark, semicolon, right? Meaning that the first one is for positive number, separated by a semicolon. You now have your negative number, separated by a semicolon. You have what 0 should appear as, semicolon, and what text should appear as. And that's how your custom format is structured, right? So if I come here and I right click and I go to format cell and I go to custom format, if you look closely, I know you may not be able to see it, but I'll copy it and bring it out so that everyone can see clearly. And I paste it here. Let me zoom in. Yeah. Let me go back to the format paint again. Control 1. custom formats. Let me pick something simpler. Yeah, let me pick this. Yeah, so this is it. So if you look closely at the cell, right, you will notice a semicolon, if you can see. Can you see? Semicolon again, and that's the end. Because I've into the fourth section, how it should appear and how should it look like, right? So I don't want to go into the details about it, but I'll just tell you some things you take note of. The hashtag represent numbers. Yeah, if you see @ is for text. Yeah, and those are the things those are the major things you need to take note of, right? So how you want the number presented, you just use a combination of these comma, spaces, tab to get what you want. So for example, right, we want 1 million to appear as 1000 and M, right? What we need to do? We press Control. Let's put 1 million, for example. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Press Control 1. Go to custom format. It's a positive number, so I can select any of these, right? Select at the extreme end, put 1 comma, then put text and put M, right? And I click OK. Can you see it's appearing as 1000 and M? This doesn't change what the number is. If you look at the formula bar, it's still 1000 or 1 million, but it only appears what it looks like. This way helps you in presentation. At times, you know what the number is, but just for the purpose of presenting it on Excel, you want it to be easy to read or for presentation. Now, it's custom format that will help you do that, right? What you see is what it wants you to see, but the number doesn't change. If I take, for example, I choose this cell and I do multiply by 2, this is giving me 2 million, because that is still 1 million. It's not 1000 with an M, right? So this is another example. I have 1, I want to appear as year 1. So I put 1, for example, here, press Control 1, right? Go to custom format, choose this, for example, and I put bracket, yeah, and I put my space, yeah, and I press OK. Can you see? It appears as year 1. Now, this is pretty straightforward. 10M, for example, I put my 10,000, press Control 1, custom format, come here. I can put 10, sorry, I put my hash to represent the number, I put the comma to turn it into 10, M, I put my closing brackets, and I arrive at my 10M. Now, if the number was negative, for example, let's say negative here, or let's turn it here and put a negative sign. The moment, yeah, makes my life easy, right? Doesn't change anything. Similar here process, I'm sure we can do that. Now for date, typically in Excel, MM is months, DD is date, YY is year. So if you want to get September 2020, for example, right, what you just need to do is, when you want it as 4 M's, you just need to, if you want it as one number, it's just 1 M, right? 1 M. If you want it as 2 numbers, you put 2 M. If you want as a text, short form of text, you put 3 M's. If you want as a full September, you put 4 M's, right? And that's what you do. So here, let's copy. I will explain this at some point. Format paint, come here. I press Control 1. See, can you see DD triple MYY? But what we want is this. So we just delete, put triple M, yeah, hyphen, 4 Ys. Or if you don't want hyphen, you can just put space. Yeah, September 2020. And we are done with that, right? So that's why it appears at. So you just need to understand that depending on what you want to do, you just play around these 3, month, day, and year, right? So if you want just 2 letters in the year, use 2 whites. But if you want a full one, just put 3 whites and you're fine, all right? So that's it. So, and you can apply that principle in this cell and see what you get based on what we've done here, right? So far. So this to get feedback, I will stop again to hear if there are any questions. Any questions, Amway?
David Susan has her hand up, or I don't know if it's a he. Dele. Dele, can you hear me?
Hello. Yeah, sure, I can hear you. Can you, David Souza, David, can you ask a question, please?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's not really a question. I noticed the chat is being disabled. Maybe you can enable it for us.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Okay. So, David, that has been sorted out. Any other question, please? So I'm looking forward to people asking questions. The more interactive it is, the better it is for everyone. Right? And one thing I would lay emphasis on is that as much as I know that this is free, the intention is to deliver value at the fullest, right? And one of the ways to ensure that we deliver value is for people to ask questions, right? So because one key thing I'll tell you about Excel is that what you see me do, by the time I start applying all of them combined in one place, you realize how important some of the little things we've taught so far are affecting or hindering performance in other areas. So as much as possible, I'd rather take time and ensure that the fundamentals and the building blocks are laid properly so that when we get to more advanced places, we will not have issues with the fundamentals.
And then just to add, no question is stupid. Dele, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, Jide, I can hear you. So someone said, how does zero represent in custom format? So zero is still zero. You just need to just show what you want it represented as, right? So let me give you a typical example, right? Now, I have a cell. The cell is zero. What do I want zero to look like? Control one, custom format. I come here, choose any cell. I choose the first section is positive, section is negative, third section is what I want zero to represent as.
Please, we can't hear you. We can't even hear anything at all.
Okay, sorry about that, I was on mute. Okay, so quick one. So what I said is that I talked about to get grid line based on what Gideon asked. So grid lines, you just need to go to view, check grid lines, right? And the lines appears and untick for it to go away, right? The next one is shortcuts used to get to the auto sum. Auto sum was simply, if I go to this sheet, for example, sorry. Alt and equals to get auto sum. Okay, so the next question is, okay, you can't hear me. I hope that has been sorted. Yeah, can you hear me now? So auto sum based on what the last person asked. If I delete, I can just press alt equal to, and I get my auto sum, right? Okay, so I've sorted out hearing. You're always breaking audio, please. Everyone can't hear you. Okay, audio, please. What's the shortcut to hide data? So to hide data, all you need to press is Ctrl+9, right? Ctrl+Z. So I select the column or row I'm interested in, like which I said was Ctrl+spacebar or Shift spacebar. I can now press Ctrl+9 if it is row, but if it's column, after pressing Shift spacebar, sorry, Ctrl spacebar, I can press Ctrl+0 and I can hide it. So as regards functions and shortcuts in Excel, yes, they can be applicable. But however, as things improve, right, there are new shortcuts that come to place. But Excel also makes it possible that whatever shortcuts that was applicable in the future, you can still reuse it. So the example I tried to give was space special, right? For example, I press Ctrl+C, right? Me, personally, when I was in Excel old school approach, you can press Alt-ESV, for example. You can press Alt-ESV. Yeah, you can press Alt-ESV as shortcut. However, new Excel that I'm now used to, if you press Alt, if you look at it carefully, my space special is in my home section. I press Ctrl, press H. Paste is V, I press V. Then S is space special, I press S, right? And it gives me a space special. This is a new shortcut. However, historically, it was Alt-ESV. A typical example is Ctrl- Alt-ED and other ones. Usually, as Excel improves over time, there are new shortcut keys that will be combined. However, they still support the old shortcut keys. Yeah. Thanks, Sukari, for attending, right? Good to have you also. Yeah. Okay. So if no other question, we've done custom formatting, we'll go to referencing. Now, referencing has two major types, right? You have absolute and relative referencing. And what do I mean by absolute referencing? I have a cell called A1. Absolute referencing is when you have $A, $1, right? This is absolute referencing. Relative referencing is when you just have A1, no $. However, Excel has a third referencing. Personally, I call it the third referencing, but it's actually a mix of absolute and relative referencing. So what does it do? You have $A1, or you can have $1. And what does this mean in Excel? When you see $A1, it means that you're telling Excel to stay fixed on that cell called A1. So meaning that wherever you go, follow me. You know how your shadow is part of you and you never leaves you? Audio. I don't know. Audio is fine. I want to crack a joke. Are you sure you're not using Glow? Anyways, that was on a lighter note. Right? Yeah, okay, good. So you have $A1 and you have $. Yeah, $A1 is saying that you want it to stay fixed on column A, right? So if you want the formula to stay fixed on column A, but you can move from 1, 2, 3, 4, you put the dollar beside A, right? But if you don't want it to be, you want to be free, wherever you go, it follows you, as in it's not moving position, you make use of absolute, which is $A, $1. But if you want to stay fixed on column 1 and just stay on 1 alone, that's when you now put the dollar beside 1. Now, this is a simple table where you want to get total cost, right? Based on unit produced. We already know that the formula for total cost is what? Fixed cost plus variable cost. And we know that variable cost is what? Quantity times price, right? Yeah, quantity times price. So for example, I come here, total cost, what I need to do? I write the simple formula, equal to, into brackets, quantity times my variable cost. Can someone tell me what form of referencing do you think would use for this? Chat box open for everyone.
Absolute.
Absolute referencing, any other person
For the fixed cost.
But to get my total for variable cost, what do I need to do? Absolute, okay? Absolute. So now to get absolute, there are two ways I can go about it. I can press my F4 key on my keyboard, and you can see the dollar sign has appeared. Or I type it manually, but trust me, nobody wants to go the approach. We're not here to start teaching manual approach. F4 key is your absolute best. Close the bracket, plus my fixed cost. Same thing, I need to stay fixed there, so I press F4. Yeah, and I'm done, right? And I get my total. Like I said before, to copy all the way to the right, I highlight all the way to the right and press Ctrl R. Yeah, to be sure that what I've done is right, I go to any of the cell and press F2, right? Can you see how it has multiplied and has given my result, right? So I'm sure that I've got my result. Yeah, makes sense? Right? Should I repeat myself? Please, can you help me mute everybody except myself? Okay. Now, relative referencing. Imagine I have the selling price of various products, but I want to get the amount in USD, right? Typically, we know that if you want to get USD, divide the amount in Naira divided by the exchange rate. Okay, now. So sorry, I was on mute, so I've corrected that. So at times we have a value in USD, I want to change to, I have a value in Naira, I want to change to USD, right? In the particular scenario, because the exchange rate varies per month, what we apply is relative referencing. All I do is this divided by the figure above, and I get my figure here, and I can highlight all the way to the right by holding Shift and my arrow key and press Ctrl R, right? If I come here, I get my figure in the currency appropriate. Imagine if the exchange rate was fixed. Let me see exchange rate here, and the exchange rate was 450, for example, and I want to get my exchange rate based on absolute. Is equal to this divided by, I select my cell and I press F4. Yeah, you can see the dollar sign, it stays fixed there. Enter. If I go to the extreme end, I press F2, you can see it stays fixed there. That is absolute referencing. Now, this is a tricky one. What I will do it, and I'll leave this for everyone to do and repeat that process, right? Relative referencing. Here, I'm going to sell this. What I want to say is that if I'm here, I want to multiply 100 by 55. If I'm here, I want to multiply 200 by 74. Can someone tell me what referencing I would use to handle this? relative, mixed, okay? I'm listening to everybody. So relative, mixed, is that all? Relative. Okay, so as not to waste further time, let me go. So the answer is actually mixed referencing, and you understand why, and you see me apply it. Now, you know, if I'm here, I want to show by it to be on 55 and on 100, right? If I'm here, I want to be on 200, but be on 80. So meaning that whenever I'm doing anything in this cell, I want to stay fixed on this column. So on this row, if I'm doing anything here, I want to stay fixed on this column, right? So let me give you an example. Is equal to 80. I want to stay fixed on E. So I press F4 until the dollar sign is only on E alone, right? Multiply by what's above. I want to stay fixed on 25. So I press F4 until the dollar sign is only on 25, and I press enter, right? I can press highlight all the way to the right, press Ctrl R, highlight all the way to the bottom and press Ctrl D, right? That's one approach. The other approach is that I undo, I highlight all the way to the bottom, I press F2, and I press Ctrl and enter, and it fills all the cell. If I pick any cell and I press F2, you see that it's multiplying what I want. Pick this, pick this, pick this, and I've achieved my result, right? Reference 2, which is this, is what everybody will do as their own test of knowledge. We're told that this is the gross salary. I need to determine what basic housing, transport, other allowance, and my new salary will be based on 10% increment. So I need you to fill this place for me, right? First assignment, referencing. One thing I need to make you understand is that referencing is the backbone of financial modeling, because as much as possible, you want to be able to write a formula, right? And draw that formula to the right or down and to execute it how you want it. You want to write in formula for every cell. You want to write it once and repeat it. So trust me, if you understand referencing, you are 10% into your knowledge in building financial models, right? So don't underestimate it. Yeah, okay. So this is date. Now, Excel has a lot of date functions, right? After the date function, we'll take a 20 minutes break and come back and continue from where we stopped. However, I'll take my time and explain dates. Okay, so Tara, everybody will get Excel. If you register for the training, you get it via email. If you did not register for the training, you can just chat me up, and this is my number, and send me your email address. Sorry. This is my number. And you can send an email to atiad@gmail.com. Yeah? Send an email or just chat me up and you'll get it, right? So Excel has a lot of date functions, but here we'll focus on date itself, month function, year, day, date, end of month, e-date, right? But usually what I try to explain to people first in Excel is that first, the first day in Excel is 1st of January 1900. Excel sees this date as the number 1. So if I press the command sign, for example, can you see that's turned to 1 because that's the first date in Excel. So typically, if I pick any of this cell, for example, and I come here, right, and I use the comma sign, you see it turns to a number. What Excel has converted it to is has counted the number of days between these dates. Let me undo and just put it here so we can see it. Has counted the number of days between this date and the first day in January. That's why you're seeing as 44,505, right? And that's what Excel has seen, and that's why it has converted to this form. The year function is very easy, just equal to year, right? And choose it, close the bracket, and Excel shows you the year, right? Similar, month is equal to month function. Select the cell you want the function, close the bracket, and it gives you the month in numbers. End of month, it gives you the last day in a particular month, right? It takes 2 arguments, the date itself and the number of months you want to go and get the last date in it. For the particular class, we just want to get the end of month of any date. So let's pick this date, for example, We want the last day in that month. So we put 0, close the bracket, and we double click at the end here, and you save there. Hi, Christian. Do you have a question? Okay. All right, let me continue. Right? So that's the end of month. So if you look at it, this is the last day of the month. Look at it, end of month. Typically, in building financial models, end of month is usually used a lot because most times you want to get the end of month, of a quarter, of a year, right? So you would have written, for example, let's say let me come down a little bit, and I have 1st of January 2020 as the start date of the financial model, right? I can easily write a formula and say that I want to get the end of month of this month, which I can put of the month following this month.
Delay.
I can hear you.
Yeah, people are saying you're a bit too fast. Can you slow down a bit for them?
All right, no problem. Now,
Yeah. Can you start over from the date function?
All right, no problem. That's fine. So tell me, trust me, I've done this over time, so I know that I could be fast. If you allow me to talk, I could be very fast. So as much as possible, like I said earlier in the class, this is an Excel class. So the end game is Excel. So I'm not going anywhere. So call me back, I will explain and talk you through it, right? So that's fine. So I will delete everything I've done here. Yeah? So the year function. At times you want to extract the year in a particular date, right? So no hustle. The function is called year, right? It takes in the argument, which is the date. Choose the date, and I close my bracket, enter. If you look at it, this is 2021, this is 2021, right? And you can see that as the end result. Like I explained earlier, you can easily just double click the bottom right and to give you all the years. So if you look at it, this is the year 2020, this is year 2020, this is 2023, this is 2023. That is here. Yeah? Okay. Jide, can you send? Okay. All right, Daniel, I've seen your message. I would.
Yeah, what do you need?
No, don't worry. I think someone sent me a direct message. Daniel, you can send me a message on my phone so I can follow up with you later on, so I don't get distracted with the class now. Okay, so for months, similar to the way we have here, we also have months is equal to month. Yeah? Choose the month, the date we're interested in getting the month, close it, press enter, and it gives me the month, right? Double click, it shows me all the month, right? Similar to here. So you look at it, this is September 9, this is June, yeah? This is May, so it gives me the date, yeah? So I've extracted the month and the year out of a date. Now the next function is end of month. End of month will give you the last day in a particular month, right? It takes two arguments, the date and the number of months from the month where you are that you want to get the end of month from. So for this particular scenario, we'll put 0, right? So it's equal to end of month, EOM, month, choose the date function, comma, 0, close the brackets, enter. If you look at this date, this is 31st January of 11th of January, right? That's my last day. Double click. If you look at it, these are all the end of dates, end of months for all these particular dates. This is 30th June, this is 18th of June, this is 31st of May, this is May, this is 28th of November, this is 30th of November, right? So that gives me this. Now, if date similar to end of month, unlike it will give me the date 3 months from a particular date, or 2 months from a particular date, or 1 month from a particular date, or 5 months from a number of particular dates. It takes two arguments, the month I am looking at and the number of months from that date and the new date I want, right? So how do I do that? Is equal to eDate, choose the date I'm interested in, right? For this particular example, I will choose this as my second argument, which is months, right? I'll choose this and close my brackets, right? So if you look at it, I know I need 1 month from this date. Can you see that it's 11th of February? 4 months from this date will give me August, right? If I double click, can you see 21st of August? 8 months from July, yeah, it's April, yeah? 1 month from January is February. 2 months from February is April, right? Can you see? It has given me that. Any question before I do dated if? Okay, in the absence of no question, I'll do the dated if. Okay.
Kende has a question now. Kende has a question and Olayinka.
Okay, please explain the e-date again. So
yes,
I'll delete it, right? Quick question. So e-date is saying that I have a particular date, right? I want to know the number, I want to know what the date is 3 months from that date, or 4 months from that date, or 1 month from that date, right? E-date will help you. It will take the date as a reference point and the number of months from that date to get the new date you're interested in, right? So for example, is equal to e-date. The date I'm choosing is this date, comma. If I want 1 month from that date, I put 1. If I want 2 months from that, I put 2. If I want 3 months from that, I put 3. And I close my brackets and press my tab to complete it, right? If you look at it, this is 3 months from January, which is April, right? 3 months from April is July. 3 months from December is March. 3 months from September is December. 3 months from November is February, right? Does that make sense? Okay, now this is so if you want 5 years from that date, 5 years is equivalent to 60 months. So you just need to put 60 months. Yeah, 60 months. Now the next one is dated if. Dated if is a function in Excel, quite old. If you type it, you will not even see it in Excel. It was actually from Lotus 123, right? That's where it started from. But they adapted it into Excel. You just find the number of days or number of months or the number of years between 2 dates, right? So for example, if you want to compute your age, dated if will help you. And what is the function? Is equal to dated. Or let me start with the parameters. It takes 3 parameters. It takes the start date, end date, and the last one is whether you want the number of months. Number of days is a D. If you want the number of months, it's an M. If you want the number of years, it's a Y. And that's the last parameter. So the first parameter is the start date, the second parameter is end date, and the third one is the month, or the date, the month, or the year, right? So it's equal to dated if. Excel will not complete it for you unlike the former functions. So you have to type it in full yourself, right? Open the bracket, choose your start date, comma, choose your end date, comma, and choose what do you want. Let's assume you want the number of months. Yeah? So the number of months between this date and this date is 3 months. I can double click it. Now, what I need to make you understand is that this particular function has a defect and it has an issue with February. So most times you see that it's off by 1 because of February. Unlike other dates that are between 30 and 31st, you know, February 28th. So it has an issue around handling February. So imagine if I wanted the number of years between 2 dates, I put a Y and I put it here. Yeah, can you see? It has approximated it to 1 year. Yeah, or 1 year, exactly. So imagine if I generate random numbers using round between, and I put, let's say 500, between 500 and 1,000. Yeah, let me copy and paste it here, drag it all the way to the bottom. Yeah, I copy this, Control C. I'm going to paste special. Remember paste special, or it's ESV, but I want it to add, so I press a D and I press enter. Right? So I've added it to this date. You can see it's now giving me 2, 3, 5, so on, because the number of years between these things has increased. Right? So it gives me a number of years. Right? So that brings an end to all the date functions we're going to cover here. So we want to go on 20 minutes recess. When we come in, we'll answer questions. Yeah. So, okay, same. So let me answer the question that Kenny asked. Same principle, it doesn't still change. The same principle will apply. Like you are saying between these 2 years, there are 2 years involved. Still give me 2 years. All I need to do is just put Y. Yeah, so it tells me the number of years between those two dates. Yeah. All right. So in the absence of no question, we should go on 20 minutes recess, and by 1:30, we'll continue. Yeah. Someone.
Dele on mute o.
I think you don't have muted me, and I've talked. All right, no problem. So I'll just do a recap, right? Unfortunately, so what I'll just say is that for those who missed, what I'll just suggest is that the sessions will be available. You can rewatch it, right? And I'd love to do a recap, but I've gone far recapping, finding out I was on mute, right? So I just need a recap. We talked about shortcuts, talked about space pressure, talked about custom format, talked about referencing, we talked about relative, mixed, and absolute referencing, right? We talked about the date function, handling dates, right? So the next one will be on data validation. Right, most times, mostly when you are creating forms that you want users to use, you want to make use of data validation, right? And what that helps you achieve is that it ensures that the data they're entering is consistent. Now, how do you go about? For something like years, obviously to a large extent, we know the years. Years is either 2019, 2020, and all that. We know a list. So typically, we can actually put a list and ensure that user can just select from that list. So that you are not going to enter 19. So it helps us control what the user enters. How do we go about that? We select the cell we want to do data validation, click on data, right? Yeah, here you have data validation, select data validation. It has options. It has any value, which is what is by default. But if you want a list, which is what I usually advise people to use most times, you can select the source where you want this, get the data from. For this particular one, this is our source, right? And click OK. When you're done with that, you can click here and select any date, the year you're interested in, right? Similar to months, Months always January to December, right? Most times you don't need any other months other than January to December, right? Similar process, click on data, data validation, select lists, and select your source data, which is here, and that's all, and click OK. Now, there are other data validation tools, right? So for example, if you want to restrict the user from entering dates within a particular range, you can also mix your data validation, right? So for example, you can put dates. You want the start date to be maybe 01/01/2021. And the end date to be 31/12/2021. Yeah. Now, if I come here and enter, for example, 2nd of September 2020, it will not allow me to enter it because I've restricted it to only allow dates within that date range. So 1st of January 2021, for example. You see, it accepts it. But if I enter 20 September 2023, it will not allow me, right? Similar way it has given that error message. If I go to that validation, I can also tell it what should this see, what the input message is, what the error message should be, give a title and specify the error message I want to show, and the symbol, warning, information, I can change that, right? So that it's more interactive if you want to give a user a list to deal with, right? Yeah, okay. Similar way, you have other options in your data validation. You have any value, you have whole numbers, you have lists, you have date, you have time, you have text, you have custom. Text, for example, is saying that you know the length of that text, right? You want to tell it, oh, the user must enter at a minimum, cannot enter more than 30 characters, minimum of 10 characters, maximum of 20, right? So, okay, if you can enter my name, Oladele, for example, it won't allow me to enter. If I type Oladele and I enter my surname, yeah, it will allow me because it meets that condition, right? So that's how to manage text length. So that's the other options you can use in data validation. However, most times for me, when I'm working with Excel, I focus more on data validation using lists most times, right? And that's data validation for you. All right. So text. Now, I'm going to do so many things with text. You would see me, or let me go back to data validation again. Now, we've gotten the user to enter dates. I want to use a function in dates which you not used previously. You have a function called dates, right? Where the user can enter the year, comma, the month, comma, the day. You can just put 1 or something and to give you the dates, right? And it has created the dates there based on that. So if I change the year and the dates, yeah, it changes. I can press Ctrl+1, go to custom format, and I can specify how I want it to look like. I want it to be like this. Okay. Yeah. So it selects that. So I can easily change. And you can see it changing here, right? So you see, I've applied data validation, I've applied date function, and I've applied custom formats. So gradually, that is how you see me start using all the elements we've learned so far, and you see me start applying them and combining them into other information. If you have any question now, you can ask. So any questions so far based on data validation? Okay. In the absence of no question, I'll move on to the next one, which is text, right? So there's so many functions with text, right? But I want to just use the text function itself. At times, when you're creating reports, you want to be able to create reports that handle dynamic view and fill, right? So for example, your management report, you want to by at the end of every month, you just need to change the date and all the parameters that is listed, your current year dates, your comparative dates, they should all change based on just by a single drop-on. Instead of manually typing and editing all the places where the dates are, you can simply create, like we did, create a data validation, similar like we did here. so that the person can just drop it and you get a text. So now what we want to now do, we want to combine the date, create a date, data validation, using data validation first. We want to create the year and the month first, right? Then based on it, we'll create the date. Yeah? So I come here, data validation, list, source, select this, okay? Month, data validation, list, source, month, yeah? So here I can select the year, for example, 2022, and I can choose my month as May, and I can come here to choose date. I choose the year, comma, the month, comma, 0, or let's say 1. And I can even go further and wrap it in end of month, UM, comma, 0. Enter, right? Press Ctrl 1 for custom format. Go to custom format. I've created something before, so it should be at the bottom. Okay, so I have what I want. Yeah, so the next thing now will be to create something that appears like this, management reports and all. So I do equals to text function. I choose the text I'm interested in. Yeah, so I can concatenate this with my date. Yeah, comma, oh sorry, let me do is equal to this, concatenate with my text function. I choose the date. Similar to how we did custom formats, we can have various things that would, how we want the date to be structured, right? So you can put open brackets, close the brackets, come here. We want only the month and the year to show. So we just put 3M, for example, space, 4Ys. Yeah, and it shows it this way. This, I can come here and create space. So there's space between the two texts, right? And with this, I can easily just come here, change to 2015, change the month, October. Can you see? It's changing dynamically. Now, for those who have seen the prepayment schedule was based on this in terms of altering the date and it's reflecting other places. Yeah? I don't know if anybody has any questions as regards the text function before we move ahead. Okay, someone said data validation. So let's go back to data validation, right? So the idea is just to create a list most times, right? Which is the focus here. So I select the cell where I want data validation. I click on data, right? Click on this, data validation, select a list, right? Source data, the data I want to use as my list. Select this and I press OK. And I can select the list I want at any point in time. Then I also mentioned the fact that if I have in my data validation, I can choose the input message, what I want to see. Enter here. In cell G17. Yeah, I want to show as a warning. Error, error, error. Yeah, okay. User should enter the year, input year in cell G17. So let's say I put, for the sake of argument, I put 2019. Error, error, error. Value does not match data validation. Yeah? Yes, it's, yeah. Okay, so the text part, right? So I said first, one thing I'll tell you is that the ampersand sign is used to concatenate. Concatenation is a term for addition in text. You want to combine two texts together. So for example, I have Oladele space. My surname is Odubemi. Yeah, I want to concatenate both, and I said is equal to Oladele concatenate, which is the dollar sign, so ampersand sign, this, and I've combined both, right? That's me combining two texts. However, now, you know, if you remember very, very well, I mentioned the fact that a date, for example, is same as a number as a reference point, right? So for example, I'm here. So, okay, I'll come back to that. Okay, so home, right? Hold on. Yeah, so you can see it's a number. So typically, if I do straight and I say this date concatenated with this number, right? Straight, you see how it will appear. Can you see what's appearing? The number here, can you see that it's similar to this? However, because I want Excel not to see it as a number but as a text, I now use the text function to handle it. I now specify the format. I want to appear as month and year, for example, right? Similar to how custom format works. So it appears that way. And that's what I do. So I just basically apply ampersand, which is the concatenation or addition in text, and I apply it to the text and the dates. And that's what I've done, right? And that's the structure for it. Now, so I want to talk about data validation from another sheet. So when I say data validation from another sheet, it doesn't change the concept behind data validation. So let me give you a typical example, right? I have in this sheet, I have a sheet where I have a trial balance. Yeah, this trial balance. I want to do data validation in this sheet from that list. All I need to do is I've chosen the cell. I go to data validation, right? Let me choose the cell. I've chosen the cell. I go to data validation. I go to list, source, and I go to the sheet where I want to get my data from. So for example, it's here. And I click OK. All that will change is my source reference. And I click OK. And I come here and I can select what I want. And that's it. So that's just the difference. It's just my source data that will be different, nothing more. Yeah? Yeah? In the absence of no question, I can move forward, right? Any question again? Yeah? No question? Okay, in the absence of no question, I move on to the next part, right? Text 2. Now, this is application of left and right function. Left helps you retrieve a text, right, from a long text based on the number of characters you want. So for example, I have Oladele, for example. If I want to take out the first 3 characters in my name, all I need to do is equal to left, choose the text, comma, the number of characters, 3 or 4 or 5, right? And it gives me that, right? So that's what left does. Right is the opposite. It helps me get the number of characters starting from the right, right? So I select my name, for example, and I say I want 3 characters. So it starts from the right and counts 3 characters, E-L-E, and gets my 3 characters, and that's Ele, Ele, yeah? So that's what happens here. So we want to apply that in these 2 spaces. For example, we want to get the last character in this place and use right, right? Choose here, it's just 1 character. Or let's do it on the right. It's equal to right, choose this cell, and we choose 1. Yeah, A. We come here, left, we want to get, for sake of argument, we want to get NIV out of it, right? NIV is 3 characters, comma, 3. I close it, right? The third option is, I want to get the last 4 characters in this invoice reference. I put equal to right, choose here, comma, 4, close it, and I get my last 4 characters. Double click at the extreme end, double click at the extreme end, double click at the extreme end, and that's fine. Yeah? Yeah. So that's left and right function, right? And trust me, it helps me a lot when I'm analyzing data, right? Okay. In the absence of no question, I move to the next slide. Now, typically, when you're working with Excel at times, you may need to do text to columns, right? That means you have a list of data and you want to just separate them based on a particular delimiter or a fixed delimiter. So let's take this for example. At times, some software, when they spool the trial balance, it combines the text for each GL with the GL itself. And if you want to separate it, there are two approaches. You can use left function because we know the number of characters that make up the GL code. So you can do is equal to left, for example, comma. The GL code is 6. So you do command 6 and close it, and you get all the GL codes, and double click to the right. Yeah, that's one approach. Yeah, another approach is I can actually just make use of what you call your flash fill. I notice the pattern. Pattern is with 1, 1, 2, 3, then 2 here, right? And down is 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 8 here. All I need to do is, after I've done 2 or 1 example, I highlight all of them, and I do a Control E, right? Control Z, choose 2 cells, and I've done what I want. I copy it, and I press a Control E. Excel is able to identify a pattern and repeat that task for me, right? So that's Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, right? That's flash fill. Now, the third one is text to column. I can highlight all this using Control Shift and my down arrow key. I go to data, right? I click on text to column, delimited because it's delimited. Next, right? I do, for example, space, right? Space is my delimiter, and I can press, click on next. I don't want it to go to B5. I want it to go straight to G, for example. I Control G so that it doesn't tap out the original data, and I can click finish, right? So I have all my GL codes clearly stated here. Yeah, and I've done text to column, right? And that's me doing text to column. It could be fixed, right? Other approaches. So for example, I select this and I go to data and I click text to column, right? Delimited, fixed. Next, can you see it? I don't have any other one, it's just here, right? Can you see fixed? I just said where I want it to be, and that's all. And that's fine. I select where I want it to be. I want it to be in column C, so I type C there and finish. Yeah, so I'm done. It does that easily for me, right? So there are other text functions, but this is reasonably sufficient. There's find, there's replace, there's substitute, but we'll not delve into that, right? Just focus on key things and let's move on. So I would give room again for questions. Does anyone have any question again? And trust me, if I'm too fast, call my attention to it so I can go back and let's see how we can do more. Okay. No questions. It seems when I'm trying to follow up with questions don't come out. But when I'm not observing, questions just start popping up.
They are saying you should go back home.
But
you should do it.
But I'm not seeing any chat now. Am I the one not seeing chat?
Daniel Atabo wants you to go back. Olayinka Yisa wants you to go back. Oga, come back. Dele, please revisit for them.
I don't know when people send messages. I don't know why it's not popping up. So I don't know when people are telling to go back.
Yes, but that's why I'm here to inform you of the messages when they come up.
So how back am I going back to? How back am I going back to?
I think to text to column. You are going back to text to column and left and right function.
Okay, all right, left and right.
And delimited.
And that's text to column. So left and
Yes.
right, like I said, left retrieves data from a text, tell it the number of characters starting from the left. So like I gave, for example, I mentioned my name, for example. I have Oladile. I want to retrieve Ola, right? I make use of left is equal to left. Ola is 3 characters. So I select the cell that has the text, comma, 3. I close it, and that is left. Right is saying I want to retrieve data starting from the right of the text. How many characters should I go from the right? Is equal to right. Select the cell, and I want to go 3 or 4 columns backwards. 4, for example, and I have delete. Does this clarify left and right function? So I can't see any response. I'm not even sure when people are following or not. Okay, so if that solves that, I'll leave this space with that principle and everybody can apply it in their own trial and error. Yeah? So that third one is text to column. Now, I'll talk about the fact that you may want to extract data and you want to use text to column. For example, I try to select everything down here, delete, select the cells. For example, select all this. I go to data and click set text to column. Now, there are options. There's fixed. Fixed meaning that you know the exact place you want to stop and you just want to be fixed. Delimiter meaning that you need something that will help you tell you, okay, stop here, or this way I want to stop, right? So there are various delimiters. It could be tab, it could be semicolon, it could be comma, it could be space. It could be a character you know, right? So you can choose other ones. It could even be a character. Do you get? You can specify what you want. But in this particular scenario, what we are interested in is space as a delimiter, right? I click on next. Now, the next thing is that where do I want my data to arrive at? Destination. I don't want to go on B, because if you go on B to delete the original data, I want it to go on D, for example. So I'll delete here and put D, and I can click finish. Right? Can you see? The original data is still there and it goes here, and I'm able to get the result I want. Right? Yeah, that's text to column. So I mentioned the fact that you could also use flash fill, for example, 140, then a 6. Yeah, I highlight all the way to the bottom. Yeah, and I can press Ctrl E, and it gives me a flash fill, and I fill all the data. All right, I'm going to stop now. Is it clear now? Text to column, left, right function. Okay, fine. Okay. Now, the popular Vlookup function. As accountant, Vlookup, you use Vlookup a lot, right? One typical scenario where I know people use Vlookup a lot is when they're doing reconciliation. Imagine a vendor has sent you a statement saying that, oh, this is the total outstanding from the side that you owe him, and you have your own list of outstanding. Now, one quick way of doing a reconciliation is using the invoice reference number, right? So what invoice can I see that is not here, right? There may be other reasons for differences. So for example, a transaction that has been deducted from the full invoice value as withholding tax, the vendor may still be holding it as a payable to him, right? It could cause reconciliation. However, the unique way of doing reconciliation is using a unique reference between both parties, right? Typically, it could be the invoice number, it will be PO number, right? It could be the amount, but best to always use the matching is the invoice reference, because that one should be common between the two parties, right? Other things can help you narrow it down, like dates and amounts can help you narrow further, right? But reference number is unique stuff. Now, Excel has a function called Vlookup, right? Where you can use the unique attributes to find something in a spool of data or in a data set, right? So in a particular scenario, we want to apply Vlookup to search for what text this particular GL code has, what text this other GL codes have, right? So how do we do that? We enter is equal to the lookup. The first parameter is the lookup value. The lookup value is what you want to use as a basis for finding the answer you're looking for, right? In this particular scenario is the GL. Now, the next thing is the table array. Table array is where the answer is located, right? The data set where the answer is located. One key thing you should notice about VLOOKUP is that what you're looking for will form the first column, right? The what I'm using as a search parameter will form the first column, and you're going to search all the way to the bottom, right? That's the next thing. The third attribute is the column where your answer is located. In this particular scenario, we want to get the GL description. The GL description in this particular scenario, if you count it, this is 1, 2, 3. Is the third column, right? So it's the third attribute you're interested in, comma, 3, comma. The next one is true or false. Now, the true or false is the argument that tells you, does he want an exact match or you want an approximate match, right? Now, if you want an exact match, you make use of false. But if you want an approximate match, you make use of true. Now, in this particular scenario, what you want is an exact match. So make use of false, right? And close the brackets. Press tab and enter. Right? With that, you can just double click the bottom right here and you get to the answer here. If you see NA, that is an error, not applicable, right? It means that Excel cannot find it, right? If you copy it and try to find it, highlight here and find that cell, it's not located, right? In Excel, if you want to suppress error, you can use if NA and can use if error. Those are two functions in Excel used to suppress errors. And the idea is behind them at times, mostly when you're designing things that relate to dashboards and all. You don't want the dashboard to be showing you error messages. You want to suppress it. Whenever there's an error, you want to be able to pass a message across rather than show an error message. How do you do that? It takes two arguments. Whatever you are doing and the message you show when there's an error. For example, if error, for example, let's choose this. If the message is an error, we can just say not found. Yeah, and close the brackets. Yeah, because that's an error message. That way, it's more descriptive that I cannot find it rather than just say any. Someone else may mistake it to mean that something's not working well. We want to give out a descriptive message that even the person who is using can understand what the issue is, right? Now, if I copy this formula, take note how I'm copying the formula, right? And paste it here. Now, what I want is the amount. The amount is located on what column? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And I choose 4. Yeah, and I have my answer there. I can double click here and I get all my answers, right? You see this is an error message. So if I go to 203, for example, and I look for it here, trade creditor local, 189 million. Yeah, trade creditor local, 189 million. You see, Excel has done a fantastic job. Instead of us going to go and find manually using find and replace or find, Excel has helped us find the answers within a quick find, right? So I'll pause if anybody has any specific questions around this area so I can hear and listen to everybody.
Dele, can you hear me?
Okay. This also has to do a recap of Vlookup. I should do the if error. So let me start with the last one. Only term. So Vlookup, good enough. Vlookup has been in exam for quite a long time. So I don't think I have any issue with compatibility in terms of the version of Excel. So version of Excel does not affect it, to the best of my knowledge. Right? So sometimes I do a recap of Vlookup, sometimes I do a recap of if error, if any. So let me delete it here, for example. Right? So the first thing first is that try to understand in Excel that every function has to do with argument, right? And is the argument that will drive how you use that function, right? VLOOKUP takes in 4 parameters or arguments. One is the lookup value. The lookup value is what you want to use to search. So what I usually use as an example is that for those who are attending universities, one key thing that we used to use to search for people is the matric number. Now, wherever you go, if they call your matric number, right? It is you. No two people can have that matric number. So for example, I still remember my matric number till date, 133506. That was my matric number. I had a classmate who was bearing my same surname, same department, but one clear thing, our matric number were different, right? So typically, most times when you're using lookup function, you make use of what you call the lookup value, usually a unique value, right? Now, the next argument is what you call the table array. Table array is where your answer is located, right? Where that contains all the data together. So you're going to search for the answer, right? The third one is the column. So as long as the data is in the answer is in a table, right? Contains a lot of data. There's a particular column specifically where the answer you're looking for is located. Yeah? There's a specific column where your answer is actually located. That is the column itself where your answer is located, right? The third one is whether you want an approximate match or an exact match. Most times we use what we call the exact match to search, meaning that you don't want something close to the answer, you want the answer come. So in particular scenario, we want to look for the text description given the GL code. How do you do that? It's equal to VLOOKUP, select the cell, comma. I can either just select the columns like this, or I can select like this all the way down, right? Typically, why you see me select at the top like this is so that if tomorrow the data expands, it goes further down, I don't need to change my table array because it has already covered it all the way to the bottom, right? Where's my answer located? It's in the third column, which is B, C, and D. Description, right? Third. What do I want? I want an exact match, false, right? And I get my answer, and I'll click here, and I get everything I want, right? So now, I said, Excel, you have an error message. You don't want the error message to appear, right? You want this situation by in Excel, you want this system to suppress such error messages, right? Give you a message that makes you know that, oh, there's an error there, rather than just put any. Any may make the user feel not comfortable with what you've done. However, you want to be able to provide an answer or a message that probably tells you that there's an issue there and the user should know what to do. That's why you use the if error or if any. If I do if error, it tells me the value of what I'm interested in, comma, what should it show when there's an error? I put the message, for example, not found. Yeah? Not found. So typically what I could actually have done is that this VLOOKUP, I could have wrapped it within an if error message, and I put if error, comma, and I just put what it should do when it doesn't find it. Yeah? And that's giving me this. Double click and see. Yeah? With this, can you see that it has given the message I want? And that's all. And I've embedded it. I've combined the two functions to handle it so I doesn't show any error message. Right? I hope I'll be able to answer anybody's question. Any questions so far? Okay.
Dele, unmute, oh, you've muted again.
Okay, all right. So now the next step is okay. So in terms of using VLOOKUP when you're doing reconciliation, so what I'll try to do is I'll create a scenario where we'll be doing reconciliation of two Excel sheets, right? Using VLOOKUP tomorrow, and we want to place where we'll apply the knowledge of some of the things we've learned. Now, the fact that it's in a separate sheet doesn't really affect it. How you go about to see be the same. The only thing that will change is your table array. Now, in the situation where you selected your table array within the same sheet, all you don't need to do is select your table array in the other sheet, right? And find it, right? And that's what to guide how I use it. Okay, so Said, would have loved to do like people trying it as where they are, but it may not be easy because it's a virtual class and coordinating that may be difficult. So what I would suggest is if you have any specific questions, let me know, I can answer it. And you can always rewatch the video just for areas that you feel you need clarity on. So you can ask a question if there's any place where you have an issue and we'll address it immediately during the class. So as much as possible, the class is robust enough and is recorded and contains everything that question that needs to be asked during the course of the training. Yeah. So now, someone said I should not delete my answers. That's why the video is there. Yeah, Tara, it's going to be on the YouTube channel, right? So that's when it's going to be on the YouTube channel. Yeah. Okay. It's going to be available on the YouTube channel. Okay. Okay. So now, typically, when you want to apply, there are instances where, typically, for example, when you're doing performance bonus of employees, right? Now, typically, what happens is that people are actually giving bonus based on their performance, right? And based on the starting performance, your weights that will apply to maybe your monthly gross, your annual gross, will be a percentage based on your performance, right? So this is a scenario where you apply VLOOKUP true, right? So right now, they've told us that in score between 0 to 49, you get a 20%. Score between 50 to 59, you get a 50% of your total salary. To score between 60 to 79, you get 100%. You score between 80 to 100, you get 150% of your salary. And that's the weight that we apply. So basically, this is where you apply VLOOKUP true, right? If I do VLOOKUP, select this, right, comma, from this array, I use my absolute referencing, I press F4 so that it stay fixed in that table array. Yeah, comma, my answer is located on column 2 because this is the weight I want to apply. 2, comma, and I choose true, and I close my bracket, and I see 50%, and I can drag to the bottom. If you look closely, right, you notice that the person scored 56. 56 is between 50 to 60, which is 50, right? Between 60 to 80 is 100%. You can see 67. See 80 to 101 is 150. Spence scored 81, can you see is 150%. And that's how we arrived at it. And that's how you apply if you look up true, right? So now you can easily just do a simple, the person's salary times the weight, and you get what the person's bonus would be, and control that. I wish my bonus was this 21 million. Maralini Lekki. Yeah. Yeah. So someone asking about the YouTube channel, right? Okay, I think someone has sent the YouTube channel already, and we said it earlier. So that is VLOOKUP true. Yeah. VLOOKUP true. Yeah. Okay. So the next one will be read one. You said I should come again on what? What exactly do you want me to come again on? Oh, Vlookup true. Okay, all right, Vlookup true back again. So I try to explain the principle here again, right? So I was trying to say that Vlookup true, most times people apply it in a scenario whereby you have a weight, right? So you want to get a result based on a space between this. The approximate value of a 56 falls between 50 to 60, and it chooses a 50 and gives you the value here. The approximate value of 61 is between 60 to 80, so you choose the what is closer to 60, which is 100%, right? And that's how he applies it. So similar to how we write it is not different. The only difference is the last argument, right? So it's equal to Vlookup. Select this, comma. Select the table array. Like I said, use F4 to lock it, absolute referencing, comma. Our answer is located in the second column, so put 2, comma, and we choose true as the last thing, right? And we close it, and we finish writing it, and we double click, right? And that's what solves it. Yeah, read one. Does that answer your question? Okay, now if that answers read one question, I think nobody has any issue with Vlookup true. So we'll move to if. Now we have 3 questions. Now we want to show by if what the mix of the if function, and it tells you if a person scored, passed, failed, right? The first question is to tell if the person passed or failed based on the score of above 50. If it's female and above 25 years in age, right? You want to say can play, otherwise say cannot play. The next one is male and scored above 60, you can say can play or cannot play. Now, the first thing you need to know about if is that if takes 3 arguments. The logical statement, what it should do when it is true, and what to do when false, right? Those are the 3 arguments. Like I explained for every Excel function, right? You have 3 arguments: the logical test, the condition, what it should do when that logical test is true, and the third one is what it should do when the logical test is false, right? Those are the things that you should do. Now, for us to be able to achieve this, right, we would simply write the simple if function. The first thing you need to understand that what's the logical test? A logical test is a statement in Excel that can only give you 2 possible outcomes. So when you write a statement and cannot give you only 2 possible outcomes, then it's no longer a logical test. So a typical logical test is that it's either, okay, right now, you have to be careful how we say it, but it's either you are male or female, right? Right? It's either you pass an exam or you fail an exam, right? So you now need to compose in a logical form. Typically, they make use of different things to combine, right? Typically, you use greater than, equal to, less than, not equal to, right? To determine some of those things to help you do logical tests. So you have greater than and equal to, greater than and equal to, not equal to, that's symbol for not equal to, less than equal to. These are things that usually use of when you're doing your logical test, right? So in a particular scenario, we said if the person scores above 50, right? So typically what I advise people, best practice, I can just put cutoff, and I put 50 here. Now the idea is that if the cutoff changes, I can easily go and change it, and I'm going to change the formula, right? So the first question is equal to if our logical test that the person must score above 50, right? That's the score, must be greater than what? 50. Now, our cutoff must always remain on that 50 mark. So what will you do? Use absolute referencing and lock it with F4, right? So must be greater than 50. Now, what should it do when it's greater than 50? It should say pass, right? And what should it do when it's less than 50? It should say fail. Yeah, so we've done true, false, fail, right? And you can now double click, right? So automatically, if you check very well, we automatically got to the result for if you pass or fail, right? And that is it. 3 arguments, the logical test, what it should do when it's true, what should do when it's false, and the things you can use to do logical tests: greater than or equal to, not equal to, less than or equal to. These are all your logical tests, things that you can use to ensure that you are doing a logical test, right? And you need to bear that in mind all the time. Now, typically, you may want to combine more than one logical test, right? Now, Excel has two functions that help you handle logical tests. There's the and there's the or. And in the case whereby you are saying that two or more things need to be satisfied before an action will be true. For example, when I went to university in 2019, now, before you get admission into university, you must have written JAM and scored above 200. You must have at least 5 credits, meaning that for you to enter university, you must have at the minimum those 2 conditions. In that scenario, what you need is an AND condition, right? That is an AND condition. Now, the other one is, let me think of an OR condition. Now, a lot of people, we all know Ikeja, right? To a large extent. I know everybody's not in Lagos, but let's use Ikeja as an example. To get to Ikeja, you can come from Ojota and get to Ikeja. Or you can come from Maryland, or what's called it, come from Maryland, Oshodi, and get to Ikeja. You can come from Pangrove, Onipan, come straight and come to Ikeja. You can get to Ikeja through any of those means. So it means that any of them can make you carry out the action you need to do. Any of them. So which one is true, it will carry out the action. But for AND, all the conditions must be met before you can carry out that task. So when you are doing your job and requires more than one condition to be met, and all of them must be met, is AND. When you need more than one, or only one, or. But if you are using a combination of 2 conditions to be met, you may be using a combination of AND and OR together, right? And you need to know how to use it in your logical test. The second question, they said 2 things must be met. The person must be female, right? And must be above 25 years in age, right? So our 2 parameters here are the person must be what? Female. And age must be what? Greater than, above 25. So I'm looking at greater than, right? So the first thing is write my if statement. 2 conditions are required, so I make use of AND. And the 2 conditions must be met, so it's AND, right? The person must be female. Female is equal to this. Sorry. This. Sorry. Choose female, don't mind me, right? I need to stay fixed on G6, right? Absolute referencing, comma, that's one condition. The second condition is that the person must be over 25. So the age must be greater than 25, right? Lock it 2 again, F4, right? These are the 2 conditions. What should he do? The person can play. Can play. Otherwise, the person cannot what? Cannot play. Yeah? Cannot play. So double click. Let's check. Can play. The person is female and is 26, right? Met the condition. Wow. The person is 28 and is female, can play. 27 and female can play. Yeah? So I'll leave this 3rd column for you, male and score above, for every other person to attend to as your advice. You try it again tomorrow and we'll be fine. Yeah? So sum if. All right. So we'll do sum if, then take 20 minutes break, then come back by 3 o'clock and do 1 hour. I will complete the class for today. Right? Okay. So sum if. Now, what happens is that typically once in a while, you want to sum a range of data based on certain conditions, right? In Excel, you have 2. You have sum if and you have sum ifs, right? Sum ifs was later created after sum if. However, it takes 3 arguments like every typical function. The sum range, what are the things you want to sum together? The criteria range, what does it want, where does it want to check if the condition has been met? Then the criteria itself. In this particular scenario, we want to be able to sum all the data, right? Based on the classification of how the jails have been classified, right? We want to sum all of them based on the criteria here, right? So how do you go about that? We put is equal to sumifs with an S. The range, I'll just select column E, comma. The criteria range, I'll select column C, comma. And the criteria itself, I'll select my criteria and I'll close the bracket, right? And I can sum all of them and I've got to my total sum. Yeah, I'll do it again. The sumifs takes 3 parameters. It takes the sum range, that means set of values I want to sum together, the criteria range, where I want to check if my condition have been met, and the criteria itself, what I'm using to do that check. Now, it takes the argument equal to sumifs, select my column where I want to sum together, comma, criteria range, select it, comma, and the criteria itself, which is this, and I close my brackets, and I get my sum, and I double click, right? To check my answer is correct, I can easily come here, Alt-A-T to filter, right? Ctrl-Z or Ctrl-Shift-L to filter. I can come to the criteria itself. Let's go to PPE, for example. Okay, select all the data. Sum range is 423937, 42397. Cache, let's come here. Select cache. Okay, it's not showing, but let's take note of what cache is. Cache is 270,169. Yeah, 270,169. Yeah, that is sum range. So, question before we go on break. Okay, so your point is I should go over the true false again, and Abubuka Isa said I should repeat the sum if. Okay, no problem. Okay, so now, okay, so I'll answer those questions. Okay, all right, no problem. So I just explain the true false for if again. So I said if takes 3 arguments, the logical statement, condition what you do when it's true, and logical test when it's true when it's false. And that's what if does, right? So you just simply write if, the logical test, comma, what you should do when it's true, and logical test when it's false, right? So I gave a scenario of person scoring above 50, and you can tell if it's true, pass or fail, right? Which I wrote down here. I said if the score is greater than 50, where I use absolute reference, give me a pass, otherwise put a fail. And that's what I did here. I also made mention of the fact that at times you may meet multiple conditions, which is and or. So when someone needs to meet more than one conditions, right, or all conditions actually, make use of and. But when you need to meet one or more conditions, at least one must be met, you make use of or, right? So I made use of the illustration whereby getting to Ikeja, right? So for example, if you are 18, whether you're male or female, you can vote, right? 18 or 21, I'm not even sure anymore, right? You can vote in Nigeria. So male or female can vote. The major condition I must meet is that you're above 18 or 21. I can't remember, don't mind me. Right? That's one condition. Which other one? Sorry, my throat is dry. Yeah. So that's it, right? For true and false. Sum if, right? So I'm going to repeat the sum if again. So the idea is that I want to sum a range of data based on a certain criteria, right? So I want to get all property, plant and equipment together, right? Imagine if I have a list of employees, right? And I want to get the total salary earned by people in finance department, total salary earned by people in HR. And I have a list of employees and I put their department. If I want to get the sum of all the salaries together, the sum if will be my best bet, right? Another example is, let's assume I have a list of people and their state of origin. And I want to get the total number of people in each state or each local government. I can use sum if based on the local government. At times, there will be multiple conditions. I want to find, in Lagos, for example, I have a list of people. I have their sex, I have their state of origin, I have the local government they live in. And I want to know the total number of people or the total salary earned by people that stay in First Stack, for example, and are from Oyo State, right? Two conditions, I can use sum if. So the idea is that sum if works on the basis that is saying you want to sum a range of data together based on certain conditions. It could be one or multiple conditions, and that's why you have S after the sum ifs, right? So you have sum ifs with an S, right? So in the last scenario, there's only one criteria, right? Which makes our life simple. I can, against next week or against tomorrow, I can show the scenario of where you have more than one condition. It's equal to sum ifs, range, comma, criteria range, yeah, comma, then the criteria itself, and I press, yeah, and I've summed all of them together, and that gives me the result I'm expecting. All right. Okay, so that's that question. Olayanka Isa asked the question. Now, for as regard pivots, we'll do pivots. Pivot is a separate class. Hopefully, when we come back from break, pivots is what we'll do last for the next 1 hour, and the rest I will do. But the difference between it is that, unlike pivot, pivot does not write a function. Pivot helps you carry out all these tasks based on just placing those arguments in certain section, and it can help you. It helps you analyze data based on certain criteria, right? Unlike sum if, where you're not writing functions. Pivot is more of a feature, right? And you see us apply pivots in summarizing the data we have here. Yeah? Any question? So false is when VLOOKUP false is when you're using an exact match. VLOOKUP true is not when you don't have an exact match, right? So you want to, for example, like I explained, let me give you an example we're very familiar with. 0 to 49 is failed, Labi. 50 to 59 is, let's say, C. 60 to 69, let's say, is B. 70 to 100 is A, right? Now, when using true, you want an approximate match. So the person that scored between 0 to 50 to return fail. 50 to 59, some C. 60 to 69, run B. And 70 to 100, return A. This is how you apply a true, right? An approximate match. But when you apply false, is when you want an exact match. That means you're looking for Ola. You're not looking for Ola with an E. You're not looking for Ola with a D. No, you're looking for Ola. You are going to the market. You're looking for a wife. You want a Yoruba girl that is a twin, right? That loves to play tete, and she's based in Yaba. Bam. That's the criteria. You don't want anything other than that. Exact match. You don't want anything that differs from that. Do you get? So that's an example to just do it. So Excel doesn't affect, VLOOKUP and VLOOKUP does not affect your Excel version. Why VLOOKUP looks from a vertical approach, HLOOKUP looks from a horizontal approach, right? So you are looking across the columns, but for VLOOKUP, you're looking along a particular, so you're looking across a particular column, while HLOOKUP is looking across a particular row. That's just the difference, where they're looking at for data from. Any other question before we go on? I'm not sure what you mean by what of sum if. I'm not too sure what you mean by what of sum if. So Olenga, I'll try to attend to your question. I'm not sure what you mean by sum if, So it's time for us to take another 20 minutes break. We're back here by 3 o'clock and we'll do our final round for today. Then we'll continue by tomorrow by 12 o'clock. Yeah? So the last session, we stopped at sumifs. So right now, we're continuing the Excel for accountants and we'll continue average if. Now the average if and sumif are similar. The only difference is what the output will be. So why the other one sums, this one finds the average, right? So for example, we want to get the average score based on female or male average score and the average age using average, right? Similar approach, average, ifs with an S. The range is a score, so we select the score column, right? Comma, the criteria range, female. So select female, comma, and the criteria is this, right? And we're fine, I can close it. And Ctrl R. Yeah, so this is the average for female and male. Yeah, same thing. Similar approach. I'll leave that for age for every other person. Same average if. All you just need to do is determine what you want to find the average, which was score, the criteria, which was this, and the criteria range, which is this, and the criteria itself. And we apply it. And that's it. And that is it here also. Now, that's us dealing with this portion. And that's all for average if. Yeah? I don't know if there's any question. Okay. In the absence of none, let's go to pivot. Now, pivot is basically like a feature in Excel that helps you do a combination of what average if, sum if, count if, they all do together in one bulk. So let's say, for example, we want to get a summary of all the customers, the total values that have been sold to them. I can select the cell using my Control Shift, right and down arrow. I've selected all the data together. I can do pivots in two ways. Shortcut is Alt-NV, and that's my pivot shortcut. Or I can simply go to Insert and click Pivot Table, right? It tells me where do I want my answer. I want the answer in an existing sheet, and I select where my answer should be. That's here, and I click OK. Now, the next step is that pivot gives me this, what I call the pivot field table. It tells me what I want for filter, what I want for row, which is basically the data on the row, what I want for value. I will show you what I want for column. So in the particular scenario, we just need to bring in the attributes that are available and place them in the right category. So today I'm not on mute though. So you can, I don't think I'm on mute, and I've checked it. So I can easily just simple way, click, drag, and bring to rows, right? These are all my customers. I want to analyze based on dates. So I put my column in dates, right? Then value, I can put my value in my value column, right? So this way it has analyzed it based on dates and my customer total value sold and all and grand total. So if you realize this is sum. However, I can actually hit Ctrl Z, go to design, bring my field list out. If I don't want sum value, I can click on this value field setting, click on count. If it's count I want, I can click on this, change my value field setting. I can turn it to average, right? I can click on this, change my value field to any of them. I can select them and I get my values there, right? Now, if you realize that summarize it based on years, right? But it for me automatically has grouped into quarters and quarters into months, right? That's what it has done here. Similar, I can just double click the negative sign to close it, right? Bring my value field setting here. Let's say, for example, I want to filter or by years. I just dragged and dropped it here. Click on this arrow, click on select multiple years, on select everything, and select only the year I'm interested in. and it shows me only for that year, right? Similarly, I can tick here, 2020, click OK, and it shows me only 2020 results. Click here, and tick 2020 and 2019, and it shows me only 2019 results, right? Based on the various quarters that are available based on data. So I've used filter in Pivot. Now, Excel also has another attribute called slicers, right? So I can easily introduce slicers. I can choose, for example, here, add a slicer, and I can easily tick, right, the quarter I'm interested in. Yeah? And I can select multiple by holding Control down and click, right? And that's slicers for you. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, I want to show you something again, right? This is just me summarizing the data, still on Pivot, right? I have data like this, for example. I want to find other things within this stuff, right? Just to play around Pivot. Select the entire data, Alt NV, right? Okay. Right? Separate sheets. The area, let me see all the areas that are listed. Yeah, we have all the areas listed here. Unit produced, I can put elements in my column, right? So area harvested, production yield, and I summarized it. Yeah. Area code, not necessary. I'm basically just summarizing the data using Pivot. So basically, the major thing to understand about Pivot is that you're making use of all these three, and what you want to appear in the row stays in the row, what you want to appear in the column stays in the column. Yeah, that's it. Shortcut for Pivot is Alt NV. Alt NV. Type it one by one. Type it one by one. Yeah. So another thing again about Pivot is that depending on how you want the report to show, right? Let's go back to our trial balance. So we use Vlookup false. We have all this. So let me create this sheet and take it to the end, close to where we have Pivot. Yeah. Let me delete all this. Now, typically, we already know that for assets, these are all balance sheet items. Let me take a balance sheet all the way up, down. Yeah, these are all balance sheets. And this is IS, all income statements. Yeah, this is non-current assets, NCA, all the way to deferred tax. This current assets. Current asset is cash all the way to inventory, all the way to inventory. Yeah. And this is current liability all the way to tax liability. Non-current liability, just these two lines. We have equity. Let's call it equity. Equity is equity. Yeah. IS, let's call it revenue. So I think this should cover what we want to achieve here. Revenue, income statement, cost of sales. Yeah. Yeah, that's all the categories. So let's assume we have this and we have classification. This is GL code, for example. Let's call this classification 1, classification 2, right? Sale class 2. Yeah, so now we have this. You'll see me prepare something similar to a financial statement using Pivot. I'm not preparing the financial, I'm just summarizing it based on what the outcome will be like and how to be presented, right? And how to be presented. That one to do now. So I select the entire data again, Alt NV. Hello, everyone. So there was an issue earlier. I unmuted myself. I was trying to see what was wrong with Tunde's one, but however, I don't know what's happening. However, let me just continue, right? So I was trying to talk about using pivots to summarize data from a trial balance, right? So the first thing now is class 1, we drop it here. Class 2, we drop it here. And we can bring in our amounts to here, right? Now, if you look at it, this looks like how our financial statement is presented, balance sheet, the elements that make up balance sheet. Now, if we bring in classification 3, you can now see how it has now broken down current assets, current liability, things that fall within that category. You can see how it's broken down. I can go further in this my analysis by saying that I am going to the pivot, right? And I go to the design section of my pivot. Yeah, hold on, click on it. Design, and I go to report layout, right? The report layout that will suit me for the purpose I'm trying to do is a tabular layout. Yeah, and it shows me this so that I can easily just click on balance sheet, income statement. I can now drill down within each element by just clicking on the arrow key, non-current liability, right? So I can go and click on, for example, current assets. Can see my elements, right? Without a problem. I can click on non-current liability. Click on equity. Yeah, IS, I can click on IS. I can see the elements. I can decide to click it out, click out. I can go further and now bring the GL description as my fourth element if I wanted to show it, right? And you see that that properly shows me how my income statement and balance sheet are properly analyzed into the various elements they fall into, right? And that's me applying pivot to summarize my financials. Hope this makes sense. Yeah? Yeah? Any question? Before I move on to maximum, minimum, and large. Okay? Any other question? So I don't know if there's any other question someone wants to ask as regards pivot before we go ahead. In the absence of no question, right, I assume everybody understands the pivot before I move on to maximum, minimum, and small and large. Maximum, minimum, and small and large are quite simple. It's pretty straightforward. And yeah. Now, this is what happens really. You have your maximum, you have your minimum, you have your small, and you have your large. Maximum returns the maximum value in the data set, right? So let's say, for example, you want to know which oldest person in the class is maximum, right? Select the range and close the bracket. So the oldest person is 44. Just using your eye to scan, 44 is the largest. Minimum is the opposite. What's the minimum age in a class? Select the age and close the bracket, right? And you have the minimum. You have small. Small now returns, maybe you want the first smallest, second smallest, third smallest, and all. That's what small will do for you. So select the range. What do you want? You want the second smallest number. All right, second smallest is still 22. Let's look for the fifth smallest number. It's 28. Yeah, 28 is the fifth smallest number. Then you have large. Large is similar to maximum. You can get the second or the third largest number in the data set. So select this, select third largest number, right? If you change it to 1, largest number, large data set. If I put 1, it will give me the same result as maximum. And that is all for maximum, minimum, small, and large. Don't all based on that. Yeah, so that is it. Small, large, and all. So for now, we've covered everything we planned covering today. Trust me, a lot has been taught within the space of the last 4 hours. I hope you've enjoyed sharing knowledge with me as much as I've enjoyed sharing knowledge with you. And I would give room for specific questions based on what has been covered so far. I'm not going to try to talk through the whole thing. No, specific questions on certain gray areas that people may have, and I explain them. So I'm open to questions, where I'll pause the recording for now.